Hey there, have you heard of the video game Rogue Lineage? Today, I'll be analyzing the Gaia Praeteritum, which is a text containing lore about Rogue Lineage. I'll be recapping each chapter and speaking briefly on how it relates to and enhances the world of the game. Before we start, here's some information in case you aren't familiar with this topic. Rogue Lineage is an MMORPG on the platform Roblox. The game revolves around lore, and some important concepts you may need are races. These are different types of humans or creatures your character may be born as. Classes. These are obtainable roles that all come with their own unique set of abilities. And mana, the energy system for magic in the game. I won't be covering the bonus chapters on magic and combat today, as there is already an immense amount of content present. Let's get right into it. Herseldens. Will of iron, born of metal. Steel yourselves against their metal. Herseldens in the world of Rogue Lineage are the most basic appearing and common of all the races, resembling average humans with average features. They are recognizable through their dark hair and pale complexion. Herseldens possess the in-game passive, Last Stand, and the active ability, Bloodline. Last Stand provides a 2 times damage and defense buff when their health drops to 20%, and Bloodline does the same thing, but is instead a revive. The abilities suggest they are a race of combat and immense determination. A last stand is described as a final act of resistance, or determined effort to fight in a situation where defeat is imminent. This affinity for war is reflected in the Gaia Praeteritum. I saw it, Sergeant. He rose from the mud, surrounded, riddled with arrows, 2 blades in his back. I've seen men die with half of those injuries, but he stood and fought like a beast, howling at the wind. Those titanic whirlwind of swings left nothing alive. Herseldens are known in lore for their long-lasting war and rivalry with Ashins, beginning with the splitting of the 2 races, who were once one kingdom. Herseldens and Ashins are actually related, as long ago, Herseldens were a splinter faction from Ashin culture. Half-breeds, misfits, and the lower servant class were the ancestors of the Herselden race. The Gaia Praetoritum in this chapter disassociates from the rest of the world, only mentioning one other race, that is the Ashin. For the most part, we are only given the history of Herseldens and Ashins, and in that regard, this chapter is great. There are still plenty of directions, however, for the Gaia Praetoritum to explore about the Herseldens, but it is merely a missed opportunity, and I don't believe it should take away from the rest of the content. Ashins. Body of fire, eyes of green, raise the lands, for all is seen. Ashins in the world of Rogue Lineage are another human race, descending from the same ancestors as Herseldens. They are recognizable through their tan skin, green eyes, and most notably, their red hair. In-game, they possess the passives Trained Combat, Mercenary Carry, and the active abilities Agility and Shoulder Throw. Trained Combat changes the animation of an Ashin's fist attacks and doubles its damage, whilst Mercenary Carry allows an Ashin to carry an unconscious person without suffering a movement debuff. And Shoulder Throw is a grab attack which throws an opponent to the ground. The abilities of the Ashin suggest they too are a race of combat, but with more refined martial arts and skill compared to the Herseldens' pure adrenaline-pumped and determination-based fighting style. The Gaia Praetoritum makes it abundantly clear how highly Ashin society values strength. Newborn Ashins are held to a test of health and physical perfection. Those who do not meet the standards are cast out and left to die, or in rare occurrences of survival or adoption, become a part of the old lower servant class. All young boys and girls that meet the standards enter a state-sponsored school and are traditionally trained in combat until they reach adulthood. The Gaia Praetoritum also makes it clear that Ashins are superior in combat to Herseldens in both races' entries, accurate to in-game strength. Ashin and Herselden history are mostly intertwined, and so there isn't much else to talk about regarding lore. The Gaia Praetoritum treats this chapter as an extension to the previous one, and it works well for what it is. Riggins. From ashen skin to blackened bones, golden eyes arose. From Under's home. Riggins in the world of Rogue Lineage are a non-human race recognizable through their blackened skin and golden eyes. In-game, they possess the passives Mana Affinity, Ice Affinity, and the active ability Flood. Mana Affinity provides a 2 times mana charge speed. Ice Affinity provides 25% more damage with ice spells, and Flood grants infinite mana for 30 seconds. The abilities of Riggins suggest that they are a people attuned to magic, and the cold specifically. The Gaia Praeteritum explains that all of this is due to the location they and their ancestors had been residing. Their body absorbs the ambient energy more readily than any other race, and experienced members of their race can turn this ability on overdrive. It's said that this evolution came from their deep connection with the underground Earth, and it is theorized that the closer you are to the core of the Earth, the more attuned you are to it, and in turn, the more you are in tune with the source of magic in this world. This chapter of the Gaia Praeteritum contains a bit of everything from the Riggins' habitat, their abilities, and their origins. It, however, does not go into much depth of anything. I feel there is a lot to be desired in all aspects, especially in terms of length, but it does touch on every subject, providing the bare minimum. Castellans. Ancients advise, fear the night. Creatures will wander as daylight dies. One's blue eyes open, wide awake, not covered by quilt, the child they'll take. Castellans in the world of Rogue Lineage are believed to be the oldest human race as their society and cities are the oldest in existence. They are recognizable through their fair skin and most notably their blonde hair. In-game they possess the passive abilities Swift Mana, Wise Casting, and Snap Excellence. Swift Mana provides faster mana charge, Wise Casting provides more room for error when spellcasting, and Snap Excellence allows a Castellan to obtain 2 Soul Snaps and lose 40% less health per Soul Snap. The abilities of Castellans suggest, like Riggins, they too are a race of mages. Some say they're second only to Riggins, others argue it's the other way around. Unlike the Riggins, however, Castellans are scholars and students of magic, over being naturally attuned to their surroundings. The Gaia Praeteritum explains that Castellans are known for the Library of Magus, the highlight of all efforts for knowledge, as it is the single most largest gathering of books and other related knowledge on all subjects from magic to medicine, mechanics to alchemy, and much, much more. Castellans chased knowledge of magic, and with that came their skill with it. The Gaia Praeteritum in this chapter looks little at Castellans, and overly focuses on random and quite frankly useless lore about magic and the Library of Magus. It is one of the more boring chapters in the text, with over half of it being the author talking about his experiences with Castellans. Removing most of the parts from this chapter would be a major improvement, and that says a lot. Casperins. From fire's breath to scales of stone, eluding death and succored home. Casperins in the world of Rogue Lineage are a draconic race of nomads. They are recognizable through features such as horns, slitted eyes, and colorful scales. In-game, they possess the passive abilities Dragon Essence, Draconic Flame, Dragonborn, Dragon Scales, and the active ability Respire. Dragon Essence provides Casperins with 4 lives over the normal 3. Dragonborn provides Dragon Speech for free. Dragon Scales provides slash and fire damage resistance. And Respire is a spell that allows Casperins to breathe fire. The abilities of Casperins all relate back to their lineage of dragons, with only their extra life being something new. The Gaia Praeteritum explains that such an abnormal race was born because, due to the waning of magic, it was said that dragons have found it more and more difficult to propagate and sustain themselves in Gaia. As a result of this, to prevent extinction, some dragons decided to share their bloodlines with their ancient ancestors themselves. The extra life granted from dragon essence is explained in the text differently, as lives would not be a concept in universe. It is rumored that Casperins are partially immortal, as the dragon's blood inside them enriches their soul with an uncanny vitality. This chapter in the Gaia Praeteritum is very solid. It provides the perfect balance of story, lore, and exploration into the race. The fabricated experiences of the author, extended explanations, and references to the game all flow into each other. The chapter doesn't stand out as amazing, but it has little to no flaws. Dear child of Giggle, dare not weep, the blessing of truth, given to those who are meek. Gaians in the world of Rogue Lineage are rare and elusive robotic beings. They are easily recognizable through their metallic bodies and mechanical face. In-game, they possess a large array of abilities. Their passives include Overheat, Oil Blood, Robot Anatomy, Iron Body, Slash Resistance, Robot Mind, Gaian Armor, and the active ability, Repair. Most of the abilities are different injury or damage resistances, but more notably, Gaian Armor provides an inbuilt armor that can be upgraded, and Repair is a move that places a Gaian into an animation, where they repair themselves. This chapter follows Gigel, the creator of Gaians, and how he achieved artificial immortality and the truth. This makes up the majority of the Gaian section, and I'll save you the bore. Giggle sacrificed loads of people to learn how to transport souls into another vessel and gain immortality. Before he did the procedure on himself, however, he discovered how to attain the truth. He went through with the procedure to discover the truth first, and upon learning the manner of all things, he lost all his desires, including immortality. The Gaia Praeteritum looks too heavily into Gigel's lore here. That area alone would be the largest chapter in the book. I myself struggled to stay focused when reading this chapter, as it felt as though the author was just dumping lore and attempting to be overly philosophical. There is no balance between the content in this chapter, and taking the spotlight off a character who isn't even a Gaian is a must. Scrooms. Death to all but one. Cull all those who desecrate our lands beneath the sun. Scrooms in the world of Rogue Lineage are a race of fungi. They are walking, talking mushrooms that are recognizable through their white bodies and large mushroom caps for heads. In-game, they possess the passives Scroom Speech, Poison Blood, Boneless, Poison Damage, Homeland, Absence of a Mouth, Improved Stomach, and the active abilities Decompose and Detoxify. Most notably, Boneless prevents Scrooms from breaking bones since they are plants. Scroom Speech is their own unique language. Decompose allows them to plant themselves into the ground to heal and eat, and the rest are mostly poison-related abilities. The Gaia Praeteritum explains that Scrooms and Casperins don't speak the same language as all the other races because Scrooms are in fact one of two original races that inhabited Gaia before the Great Opening. The other sentient life form, of course, are dragons. In-game, we see that Scrooms have their own habitat, Scroomville, and their passive homeland sets Scroomville as their spawn point, distancing them from differing races. The reason for the Scrooms isolating themselves from the rest of society is inferred to be because they view other races as inferior and thus do not want to live alongside them. Their hatred towards other races are apparent, as ever since the ancients' arrival to this plane, they have suffered many a conflict with these rather primitive people. The Scroom's affinity with poison is reflected in the class their species invented, Druids. Druids harness potions and the secrets of nature, sprouting forth poisonous plants and restricting vines. The first druids and alchemists were scrooms, and if one wants to even become a druid themselves, must find a scroom mentor. The Gaia Praeteritum goes on to talk about metal scrooms. They are scrooms that with the help of the Vint people became part robotic. They gained all the abilities of the Gaian race besides their armor. I won't go into depth on metascrooms as they are a subspecies of scrooms. The scrooms are an extremely unique race, and this chapter goes really in depth about their existence. I feel that this chapter is a prime example in what the Gaia Praeteritum should aim to do, and it should serve as a solid base for future chapters. Madrasians. Shifted skin, stolen every year, fangs produced amongst ghastly fear. When pulled right across, from ear to ear, grants wicked smiles to those held dear. Madrasians in the world of Rogue Lineage are a race of shapeshifters. Their true forms are recognizable through pale skin, grey hair, and green eyes. In-game, they possess the passive ability Observe Resist, and the active abilities Shift and Trinket Shift. Observe Resist grants Madrasians a resistance to being watched from afar by illusionists. Shift allows Madrasians to copy the appearance of another player, and Trinket Shift allows them to take the form of items. The abilities of Madrasians suggest that they are deceptive, elusive, and cunning. This is reflected in the reports of the Gaia Praetoritum. This further fans the stereotype that a Madrasian will lie, cheat, and steal, only to run at the first sign of danger. Madrasians running at the first sign of danger, in lore, is quite accurate to their nature in-game. Because they possess no major advantages in combat, they will often use their abilities to hide or run. In Rogue Lineage, Madrasians have extremely minimal lore of their own, and so the Gaia Praetoritum relies on mostly fan theory and speculation in this regard. It attempts to explain their existence by offering the theory that they were brought in by Earl Caris of Munsters, another lore figure. Earl Caris of Munsters was responsible for the creation and the introduction of monsters into our mortal plane. While Ardor can be said to be the progenitor of some of the world's first dark creatures, with their creations came a barrier from Solon. Caris, through unknown means, was able to create tears in this barrier, allowing monsters never before seen to enter our world. Like Scrooms, Madrasians have a class that is very often associated with them, Faceless Ones. The reason for this is that once you become a Faceless One in-game, you lose your face and your name, making you stand out. Shift completely negates this, as it allows you to steal the appearance and title of others. The Gaia Praetoritum touches on this matter. A less innocent subject that's pervasive among the Madras citizens' lips are talk of so-called faceless men, individuals who have given up being individuals, a death cult, an order of assassins fed up with pretending to be someone else, and instead choose to discard their identity and possessions to become what they believe is their true naked form, to be no one. Disturbingly enough, their unholy book, dedicated to the art of death, dubbed the Book of Ruin, tells tales of how to remove one's face and become no one. This Book of Ruin is a reference to the in-game character of a real person, Faceless Man Ruin, the first Faceless One and a large figure in the community. The chapter for Madrasians enriches the world of Rogue Lineage exceptionally well by asserting their place in society. There is little to work with in-game, and so the text does great in adding lore to a cool in concept, but poor in execution race. Dinner Carry. I mirror your soul, inscribe your being on flesh. You live on through me. Dinner Carry in the world of Rogue Lineage are dark creatures that utilize rune magic. They are recognizable through their blackened skin, white hair, and their devoid of life eyes. In-game, they possess the active abilities Soul Rip, Berserk Mode, and Rune Casting. Soul Rip executes an unconscious player by tearing their soul, and it grants the Dinakari a rune engraved onto their skin. Berserk Mode grants a Dinakari infinite mana and a damage multiplier for a short period of time, consuming a rune. Rune casting instantly casts a spell without the need for mana, and it too consumes a rune. These abilities further push the already evil nature of the Dinakari. Taking souls is not a just thing to be doing. The Dinakari and their rune berserking earned a fearsome reputation back in days of yore. Their marauding tribes would eat the souls from village people and other warriors and use them to fuel their strength and become even more ferocious. The Dinakari's brutality is all that is betrayed of them in the Gaia Praeteritum. They take souls and use them merely as a fuel source. They are people meant for malice. The abilities of the Dinakari are seen in-game not only in their race, but also in the class of Wraith Knights. Wraith Knights possess the power of soul ripping, but it is a learned ability rather than being born with it. There's no doubt that Dinakaris were the source, or more accurately, the inspiration for the power behind the Order of the Wraith Knights, a sect of deserters from our order of noble sigil knights. The Gaia Praeteritum, however, fails to explain how Rune Master Elden, the leader of the Wraith Knights, learned and teaches the art of soul ripping. Overall, the chapter for Dinakari is lackluster and adds very little to the world. Every other race receives plenty of lore and unique interactions, whilst the chapter for Dinakari is merely a copy and paste of what is already known. Jinn once were people of mystic will, who meditated on mountains and hills. They opened their eyes, saw naught but lies, and went blind from then till. Jinn in the world of Rogue Lineage are mountain hermits who dedicate their lives to oneness with nature. They are recognizable through their red or blue skin, orange or purple eyes, and brown or dark blue hair. In-game, they possess the passive ability Unbreakable and the active abilities World's Pulse and Awakened. Unbreakable grants a Jinn immunity to all mind spells and mental illnesses. World's Pulse is an ESP ability that highlights all living things, but overusing this can lead to blindness. And Awakened allows the user to dodge any attacks coming their way. The abilities of the Jinn suggest they are psychics of a sort. They've become so in tune with nature that they can see the life force of the living. Wielding this perception is inherently unnatural and is essentially peeking at a world with vision not our own. The price to pay for peering into the world's pulse for too long is total blindness. In exchange to see the souls of all living beings, one permanently stuck in a world of darkness, only able to see the silhouette of one soul. The Gaia Praeteritum makes it clear that these powers are otherworldly and aren't meant to be used, and thus is why overuse of the Jinn abilities leads to blindness. It is also explained that their temples dedicated to meditation are located beyond the sea of trees, far from civilization along the world's trail. This not only ties into their isolated existence, but also provides a sufficient reason for the Jinn civilization not being seen in-game. Apart from this, the text only adds that Jinns are the original developers of the magic used by illusionists. This class is the most fitting for the Jinn's mind-based abilities and strong resistance against illusionist abilities. Although this chapter was very short compared to the others, it establishes the Jinns into the world, whereas beforehand they had little lore and were left out in terms of the game's world building. The briefness of the chapter works well with the secluded nature of the race. There is also no useless information, and nothing deviates too far from what is already known. Vins and Fisherins, keepers of sky, wild and free, keep watch of our lands, down to the deep blue sea. Vinds in the world of Rogue Lineage are people of the sky, with a natural affinity for wind, and they hail from a different plane, traversing to Gaia due to Earl-Caris of monsters destroying their homeland. They are recognizable through their grey hair, magenta eyes, and lavender skin. In-game, they possess the passive abilities faster regeneration, skybound, calm mind, ideal sailors, unnatural blood, mana lineage, sky sailors, and the active ability Tempest Soul. Most notably, mana lineage grants a Vind access to mana at birth, and Tempest Soul allows them to activate a barrier that reflects spells and increases their movement speed. Unlike the Riggins, who have a natural affinity for mana, and the Castellans, who have studied mana thoroughly, it is evident in the Vin's abilities and the Gaia Praeteritum that they are creatures of mana. They are not only able to reflect mana, but also born with it infused into them. The Vins are people of the sky, beings born with close ties to mana, and may be born of it. In our world, however, all races can use magic, but to a greatly lesser degree compared to the original Vind masters. In-game, Vins can be found inhabiting a place called Sky Castle, which is quite literally a castle floating extremely high in the sky. This unbelievable use of magic to stay hidden from others led Vins to becoming somewhat of a folklore tale. Since the dawn of Gaia, the Vind was thought to be a myth, a mystery retold through whispers everywhere, from rowdy taverns to the quietest corner of a library. Myths of their grand cities spread throughout the generations. It was said that these floating cities were held up with only the magic power of the Vind and nothing else. This isolation of their people, however, is not for the same reasons as the Scrooms. They do not view themselves as superior and instead choose to hide themselves, in order to not disturb the tentative Gaia towns in place. In-game, there are abnormal spells of mass destruction, called God spells, and these can only be obtained from Sky Castle, the home of the Vins, and the Gaia Praeteritum actually refers to this. Original Vind magic is something out of apocalyptic fables, summoning great tornadoes, calling forth meteors from the sky, casting bolts of lightning, and ushering great glaciers from another realm. Because they possess these disastrous abilities, and are viewed as mythological creatures, Vins are commonly perceived as evil and bad omens, despite them being one of the most peaceful races in reality. Fisherins in the world of Rogue Lineage are a people with a malleable body and an affinity for water. They are commonly guides or servants to Vins. Fisherins are recognizable through their either entirely blue or entirely green bodies, and this includes their hair. In-game, they possess the passive abilities Windshield, Sky's Sailors, Sky's Temperature, Skybound, Mana Lineage, Sanguine Immunity, and the active ability, Dissolve. They share many abilities with Vins, and like Ashins and Hseldons, these two races and their lore are intertwined. Most notably from their abilities, Windshield allows 4 attacks to phase right through them, and Dissolve grants them the ability to transform into a puddle of water. They also possess Mana Lineage, although they are not creatures of mana like Vins are. The complexities of Fisherin and Vind abilities are not thoroughly explained in the Gaia Praeteritum, but it's likely for good reason. Considering they are so elusive and not natural to the world of Rogue Lineage, the character who wrote the text wouldn't possess such knowledge. The Gaia Praeteritum goes on to add that having a close affinity to water and wind means that these sailors were not originally sailors of the sky, but once of the sea. Fisherins were master helmsmen, being able to feel the waters below their ship and steer clear away from danger. When the sails grew slack, the Vind captains mustered gushes of wind and changed the climate itself to move their vessels. Vins were natural mages, and in their homeworld they were the only race capable of using it. This explains the master-servant relationship of the two races. Although both of them have access to mana, Vins were the only ones capable of casting spells, and so naturally the Fisherins took under them. This chapter is very intriguing, and in my opinion, the best chapter in the Gaia Praeteritum. It contains two races, and this decision was clearly thought out. The concept of Vins and Fisherins is already perfect. They fit right into the world of Rogue Lineage, and the chapter does them justice with how it contrasts them to the rest of the universe. For example, the idea of Vins and Fisherins being a myth to other societies makes complete sense with how they are implemented in-game already, and makes this chapter a great piece of world building.
Neverins. Blank stares for all to see. Endless hunger, endless thirst. I think they'll consume me. A single bite, spew blood first. Weighty gaze with green skin. Unknown traveler, given wide berth. Unknown stranger, mysterious birth. Eaten from head to shins. Navarins in the world of Rogue Lineage are constantly evolving creatures from outer space that consume other species to steal their traits. Navarins are recognizable through their greenish blue, tan, or white skin and their fully blacked out eyes. In-game, they possess the passive ability Devour and the active ability Emulate. Devour causes Navarins to eat other players when executing them, and Emulate allows them to copy one ability at a time from another player. Navarins are split into two levels: greater Navarins, who are immortal and emulate everything from those they consume, and lesser Navarins, who are mortal and can only emulate abilities. The player base only has access to the lesser Navarin. The reason for this separation is that the lesser Navarins are weaker versions of their true potential, cut off from their true progenitor, and as such are mortal and in their eyes, incomplete. Navarins have difficulties in their fit in society, as they are emotionless, cut from their originator, and mortal. They are what you might call abandoned ones, failures, too weak to truly fulfill their original destiny of conquest. This lack of emotion can be seen in-game, with all Navarins sharing the same emotionless facial expression, and therapists asking them, "Do you even have feelings?" The Gaia Praeteritum explains that they originated from a meteorite that landed close to the outskirts of a remote town, far from civilization. The meteorite was a known occurrence, and scholars flocked to the area to study it. What they found was something akin to a vision of someone's nightmares. Creatures with green skin consuming the townspeople and assuming their form, their clothes, mannerisms, and speech. These are the original greater Navarins, closest to the originator. Later on in the chapter, it is quoted that they're thought to come from the unknown depths of space, from some kind of entity that split up into many fragments in order to divide and conquer and become some kind of supreme being. These ominous origins are fitting of such unsettling and disturbing creatures. They clearly don't belong to Gaia, and yet their unusualness causes them to be an exciting addition to the fanatical world of Rogue Lineage. Aside from the background of Navarins and distinguishing the two types of Navarins, the Gaia Praeteritum doesn't do much else, but that isn't taking away from the chapter at all. Over-explaining something perturbing, like Navarins, would only take away from their appeal.
Morvids, souls of sinners, sights to behold, usher your flock with culling untold. Morvids in the world of Rogue Lineage are crow-like creatures that can evolve towards a more human state by consuming their own kind. They have three forms depending on how many other Morvids they have devoured, but all forms are purple and have red eyes. At first, they are bold, have 4 eyes, a beak, and are covered in feathers. In their second form, after eating 10 other Morvids, they gain hair and skin, and in their final form, After eating 20 other morvids, they lose 2 eyes and their beak in exchange for a mouth. In-game, they possess the passive abilities Feather Falling, Mana Lineage, Cannibalism, and the active ability Flock, which is gained in their final stage. Feather Falling grants fall damage resistance. Mana Lineage grants them mana as spawn. Cannibalism allows them to eat other morvids, and Flock allows them to disperse their body into a flock of crows. The Gaia Praeteritum doesn't give a definitive answer for their origins, but it provides the theory that morvids are born of groups of crows on battlefields, and those souls who have met their untimely deaths. With it, and with their collective miasma of torment, they would incidentally gather into a sanguine puddle, being reborn as one, as a morvid. Perhaps a more lazy explanation compared to what other races receive. The reasoning for morvids evolving from consuming each other is said to be that it's a permanent bond of one soul. So when a morvid is eaten by another of their kind, they live on through them. This also aligns with the ability Flock that morvids gain in their final stage, where they split into a multitude of crows, a multitude of souls. This chapter in the Gaia Praeteritum is brief, and the little information it does include is not even confirmed true. Unlike the other mysterious races in Rogue Lineage, the morvids were not done right. The whole chapter feels rushed and pointless. Constructs. For the construct, hailed from cold, paid naught of coin, but soul. He'll chop, he'll slice, he'll prod and dice, change you, uphold, change you whole. Constructs in the world of Rogue Lineage are an artificial race, an attempt on creating the perfect being, similar to the origins of the Gaians. They are recognizable through their pale skin, green eyes, and dark blue hair. In-game, they possess the passive abilities Winterborn, Enhanced Toxicity Bar, Artificial Blood, Mercenary Drink, and the active ability Galvanize. Most notably, Winterborn provides cold resistance. Enhanced Toxicity Bar provides a 7 times toxicity capacity, and Galvanize is a 50% HP revive, in exchange for a 50% increase in toxicity. Due to the nature of their creation, constructs have many resistances to toxicity and the cold. Those who survive are very few. It essentially strips your body down, leaving the soul, and builds one back up anew. The body that withstood the drastic and violent remolding of their form resulted in an end product that can withstand great amounts of imbibed potions that would kill any ordinary person instantly. Because constructs are an artificial race, you cannot spawn with it in-game. The only way to obtain it is to go to Laboratory Sigma and participate in an experiment where you enter a tube that will either result in death or you turning into a construct with a very low success rate. The reason for constructs being so uncommon and the only method to becoming one being so risky is as follows. The reason why these beings are as rare as they are is because decades ago, when these constructs were originally created, there were fears that constructs were an attempt at recreating cameos. This led to a widespread hunt to eradicate all findings and researches dedicated to this alchemical process of creation. Cameos are despised beings in the world of Rogue Lineage, for grounds that will be covered in their own section. Or, the Gaia Praeteritum goes on to reference that there are rumors that there is still a lab, a compound deep within the northern tundras, guarded by a dragon and situated deep underground, still running to this day. But these rumors are simply just that. Who with the head on their shoulders would believe an outrageous tale like that? Despite this being precisely true, it would only make sense for the character who wrote the book to not know of Laboratory Sigma, which is hidden inside a mountain and secretly practices the creation of constructs. Constructs, like Gaians and cameos, are simply failed experiments for a perfect life form. Three races of this nature can be oversaturated, but it can also be great from a storytelling and lore perspective. The Gaia Praeteritum capitalizes on that in this chapter efficiently, balancing the construct's origins, explanation of their abilities, and just building onto their lore. Dullahands. At Hallows Eve, the witch will appear, emerged beyond the woods of nightly fears. Dropping sweets from the sky, all will cheer, trick or treat, until the next year. Dullahands in the world of Rogue Lineage are a race of jack-o'-lanterns, only coming into existence on Hallows Eve through unnatural means. They are recognizable through their flaming pumpkin head and their green body of a plant. In-game, they possess the passive abilities, Corpse Blood, Lit Head, and the active abilities, Pumpkin Grenade and Gourd Roll. Corpse Blood provides infinite hunger bar and increased regen. Lit Head provides a source of light. Pumpkin Grenade allows them to throw their head that explodes and latches onto enemies. And Gourd Roll grants them the ability to transform into a pumpkin that rolls around and sets others on fire. The Gaia Praeteritum also brings up that there are reports of mystical powers of said Dullahands, which include flight, phasing through walls, and immunity to flames and gravity, although these are not seen in-game or mentioned anywhere else in lore. It is a random piece of information that adds nothing to the Dullahands. Apart from this, the text doesn't attempt to provide anything new about this race, and even spends the entire first half of the chapter without even mentioning Dullahands, choosing to instead talk about Hallows Eve, completely ignoring anything about the Dullahands' origins or existence. This chapter has very little to do with Dullahands, and the direction of it is honestly confusing. I feel the Gaia Praeteritum would be better off removing this chapter entirely and forgetting Dullahands. Cameos. Betrayer of four, a wicked being, ascend yourself unto me. Cameos in the world of Rogue Lineage are perverse imitations of gods. They are highly despised and not even viewed as people. They are recognizable through their pale skin, purple or pink eyes, and white hair. In-game, they possess the passive abilities Cat Lives, Fast Metabolism, Cat's Coat, Extinction, Empty Husk, Cats Always Land on Their Feet, and Unnatural Exoskeleton. Most notably, Cat Lives grants them 9 lives that really function as 9 health bars. Cat's Coat provides 3 times cold resistance, and Empty Husk removes their ability to cast spells. This is explained to be because cameos completely and utterly destroy the souls that they use. This sort of failed divinity doesn't come without a cost. Aside from the fact that your immortal soul is forfeit in exchange for an immortal body, cameos cannot use spells, as the conduit, that is their soul, is destroyed, and the soul is the root of all magic. The abilities of cameos suggest that they are cat-like creatures, but the reason for this isn't explained in the Gaia Praeteritum. The text instead focuses on the unholy nature of a cameo's existence, clearly illustrating the author's distaste for them. Although this chapter is heavy on how cameos are viewed by others, it doesn't fail to provide the origins for them, like some other chapters may. Cameos are a failed mockery of seraphs. They were created by Lannis, the father of lies, to spite Solon, and to spit in the face of our true creator. Cameos were created by an artifact, made by none other than Lannis, creator of curses himself. This artifact, as described in the old tales, is an amulet that glows a radiant and incandescent white. A curse it truly is, to be drawn in and take 4 of those who you would hold most dear, clutch the amulet of the White King, and utter the words, "I sacrifice."
This is accurate to the in-game obtainment of this race. You give up the lives of 4 of your house members with the use of the White King's amulet. It's obvious why a maneuver like this causes the discrimination towards cameos. They sacrifice the souls of others and desecrate their own to play the role of God. Despite this chapter slandering cameos and containing excessive amounts of emotion, it's realistic in the situation, as all societies in Rogue Lineage absolutely detest cameos. Azales, crimson horns with gem-cut eyes, an apple fell from a serpent's lies. Azales in the world of Rogue Lineage are creatures resembling demons. They are not of Gaia and can traverse freely through different planes. They are recognizable through their red eyes, skin, and horns. In-game, they possess the passive abilities Hell's Flame, Paw's Curse, Faster Mana Charge, and the active ability Gate/Snapgate. Hell's Flame grants them immunity to fire. Paw's Curse caps them at 2 lives compared to the normal 3. Faster Mana Charge grants 50% mana charge speed. And Gate/Snapgate is a spell that allows for teleportation around the map, and is how Azales walk between planes. These people are natural planewalkers, and have a tremendous mastery over crossing worlds. Haughty by nature, all members of their race wield the unique magic of teleportation. They gate by punching temporary holes in the very fabric of space, with the aid of their technological creations, obelisks. Azales are the most difficult race to obtain for players, as you cannot spawn in as one. You must find an extremely rare artifact, Azale horns. Although in lore, this method is not canon, as there is no other way to become an Azale other than being born as one. Since Azales are so rare, hop between planes, and appear at random, little is known about their origins, motives, and their homeland, other than the fact that they hail from a plane of perpetual flame. For these reasons, this chapter is short and has little to discuss. The Azales have no ties to the rest of the races or the game's lore, and they exist in their own world. The chapter does all it can, and even though its ceiling is low, there aren't any flaws to point out either. Serifs. True believers have faith in Solon's blessings. O Lord, save our lands from these faithless invaders. At the end of our long path, we shall reach you in the promised land. Serifs in the world of Rogue Lineage are legendary beings and servants of a god, the closest thing to divinity, as they are blessed by Solon himself. They are recognizable through their white skin, white hair, and eyes that reflect whichever god they are born of. In-game, they possess the passive abilities Godly Edict, Celestial Constitution, Ichor, Heavenly Skin, Angel Fall, Immortality, and the active ability, Gate. Most notably, Godly Edict provides Serifs with mana and the ability to cast spells without a tome at spawn. Angel Fall allows them to drop out of the sky with an explosion every time they spawn in, and Gate provides them with the ability to teleport around the map like Azales. The information on Serifs in the Gaia Praeteritum is not 100% accurate to other lore sources and to what is seen in-game. The text fails to provide the origins of Serifs, which we already know that they form when a god feels a strong and singular emotion. The Seraph is then given a mission related to the emotion, and if they abandon said mission, they eventually perish. The Gaia Praeteritum also glorifies Seraphs, and only says they are of Solon, even though there are multiple in-game and in-lore examples of Seraphs being born from other and more sinister gods. The only lore addition here is that Gigal was visited by a Seraph to impart the revelation of the truth and artificial immortality. It is said, though, that by discovering these, Gigal was made an example of and punished. This chapter provides a lot of unreliable information, and like the chapter on Dollar Hands, shouldn't be in the Gaia Praeteritum at all. Serifs are not even available to players, and it makes no sense for different lore sources to contradict each other. And with that, every race mentioned in the Gaia Praeteritum has been covered, and it marks the end of this video.
If you found my works interesting, make sure to like the video, as it would be greatly appreciated and would help me with my future projects. I recorded, designed, and edited all of this in the span of 3 days, with the help of 2 all-nighters and many cans of V. If at any point in the video I sounded sick, it would have been recorded in the later stages of the night, and I hope you can excuse me for that. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great day.